Okay, so what we're going to do in this practical is to give the user the ability to show the papers in the database based on their tag, okay, how they've been tagged. Now we've implemented the system for actually attaching tags to papers. Now we need to find the system to actually display the papers based on the tag that they've got. Okay. Now this is the current way we do it. I mean, if we go to mobilestandards.aspx.vb, we have this system where inside the page load function, we call the function display table, and we pass to it any sorting requirements that we want. And then in this function here, display table, that will then construct the SQL based on the sorting information we want. It will then run a command, get some records back from the database, and then display them. Okay. So, and what it does is it's reading from the database. It's reading not from tables, but from a query that we created, which was called papers and weeks. And this query is essentially just joins the two tables, papers and the other table, weeks. It joins them together such that we can easily query it with our own SQL, and we don't have to write further kind of when so-and-so equals so-and-so, etc., etc. So that's what we did. We created a query called papers and weeks. But now, because we're using tags, we will also need to create another, a different query, which will also include tag information. Okay, we could, if we want to, I suppose, just expand papers and weeks such that it does have a tag field in it. But I think what would be safer will be to actually create a whole new query, and it'll also be good revision for us to remember how to actually create queries. So let's go back into Access. Okay, so at the moment this is our papers and weeks. What we want to do is now create another query called papers, weeks and tags, okay, which will have everything. So the way we do that, we go into we click in Access, we click on the create tag, okay, click on query wizard, simple query wizard. Okay, and when we do that, what it does is it gives us a list of all the existing objects in the database such that we can construct our new query. Okay, so I'm going to go through the kind of like, that's what we did the last time. First of all, I'm going to choose the papers table, and I'm going to choose the fields I want to display from that. Author, title. We don't have to worry about the foreign keys and the primary keys, just the things we want to show, not necessarily how the data is organised. So those are the 5 fields from the papers table we want to show. We certainly want to show what week it's in, so let's kind of like take the number field from the weeks table. And finally, however, we also want to be able to choose based on the tag. So let's move the tag into this query as well. Okay, so now we've got author, title, abstract, intro, hyperlink number, and tag. Okay, so that's got all the things we want to display. Okay, click next. Okay, click next again, and let's as I say, now here we give it our name. So we're going to call it papers, weeks, and tags. Okay, so then just click on finish. Okay, and what we will now see is a list of all the papers, weeks, and tags. Now, as you see, when it comes out in this form, what we're getting is a join of all these things. So we're getting a lot of duplicate. We show a lot of duplicate information, even though it's saved everywhere as individual information. Because, for example, the paper Ubiquitous Computing on Campus has got 2 tags. We see it appear twice, once under the tag Ubiquity, once under the tag Study. Okay, but it's also possible there's nothing in the database which prevents one paper having the same tag twice. So there's the Computer for the 21st Century, the very first record, having the tag Ubiquity, and also this record having the tag Ubiquity later. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. The reason is because if many people associate one particular tag with one particular article, causing repeated data, but it will indicate to us that that is an agreed, genuinely descriptive tag of that paper, because many people regard that paper as being within the subject area of that tag. So it is actually useful information, even if it is in some ways duplicate. Okay. So anyway, so we've got that there, this papers, weeks, and tags. But certainly when we're showing this to the user, we don't want to repeat this information as much as this. Okay. So what we have to do is we have to add a slightly different SQL command. So instead of doing select star and getting every single record and every single field of every single record, what we should do now is select distinct. Distinct means get only one record where these particular fields are distinct from each other. Okay. Now most of these fields that you see here, let me just move the list of tables across a bit. You'll see that in the case of the first record and the last record, they are totally equal. So you would only want one field from that. But similarly, for the second and the third record, where the first 5 columns here are exactly the 6 columns are exactly the same, and only the 7th is different. So what we could do is kind of show distinct author, title, abstract, intro, hyperlink, number, okay, because that would give us only one record for those 2, okay, because that is those 2 are completely the same. The first 6 columns are completely the same on those 2 rows. So if we only chose the first 6 columns to display rather than displaying the tag as well, we would get a distinct match here. So we would only need to show one of those rows because the other row is the same. Okay. So let's go back into our code. Okay. So now, having created that query, okay, as I say, what we can do now is, well, let me just show you what it would look like if I did select star from, let's call it, I think we're calling it papers, weeks and tags. So papers, weeks and tags. Okay, select star from papers, weeks and tags. Now, if I do that, okay, what should happen is that you will see a lot of those papers repeated, okay, because we've not asked for a distinct record. Okay, we're saying select star from papers, weeks and tags, and so there it is in Access. And now as we show it in the web page, what we should see is exactly the same thing, but in our web form. And as you see, yes, so we get a lot of repetition. We get Mark Weezer appearing twice here, and we get these III field appearing twice, because the reason why 3 times, because it's got 3 different tags. Okay, that's why it appears 3 times. So we're talking about the join of these 3 tables. Okay, so even though only the tag bit differs, it does appear 3 times. So what we need to do to actually change that is to add the keyword distinct. Okay. So if I now click here on the coding and I say select distinct, so I need to stop the authoring system first. So I now choose select distinct star from papers, weeks and tags, and I'll do it for all of the other ones as well. This still will have some problems because although it will eliminate only one particular case. It'll eliminate the case where every single field is exactly the same, okay, such that one example we got of the very first and the very last records where they shared the same tag, so the entire thing was the same. Let's just look at it in Access. See, there it is. The very first field, the very first record, and the very last record are entirely the same. Okay, Mark is the computer for the 21st century, and we'll find that by using the distinct keyword in our SQL, we'll find that we haven't got that twice. The computer for the 21st century only appears once. Okay. However, ubiquitous computing on campus appears twice here, and the reason for that is because there are 2 different tags relating to ubiquitous computing on campus, so it's regarded as being 2 records. So again, the way we can actually now get that finally down to 1, so it looks like the same as it would before, is to change the SQL again, such that we're saying, instead of saying select star, instead of saying select distinct every single field, let's just put in the fields that we want to see. So let's say select a distinct title. I have to stop it. Select distinct title, author, number, meaning the week, abstract, hyperlink. Okay, so if we do that, which means we're not including tag this time, here we get only one record whenever all these 5 are the same. If all those 5 are the same, we get a distinct record. Okay, so if 2 or more records have exactly the same title, author, number, abstract and hyperlink, then we only ever see 1. Okay, so now let me just show you that. So this now should make the whole thing look like it used to look. Okay, and now as you see, it does look like it used to look. Okay, where there's only one example of each of the fields. So now we can do the sorting as well. You'll notice this has brought in a slight kind of little issue now. You notice that you can only see 5 papers now, whereas there were much more than that in the database. If I go back into Access, you'll see that actually in the database there are only 5 papers. So there are only 5 distinct papers. So yes, there's nothing terrible at this moment. Okay, so but what we have there. So anyway, that's working fine. The next thing we need to do though now is allow the user to be able to choose the tag. Okay, so we've created the query that needs to be there. Now we need to create the ability for the user to choose a tag. Okay, and that's what we'll do in the next video.